Hi guys, this is Matt from Pedovera. Pedovera, we are your web marketing partner on demand. And in today's article, I'm going to talk to you about the 6 lessons I learned on how to host a revenue generating webinar. So in about October of last year, I just come off an unsuccessful launch for our Sales Funnel Blueprint course. And initially, we thought that we did everything right, and we were projecting something like a low 5-figure launch for that info product, the Sales Funnel Blueprint course. And unfortunately, it didn't go as planned. We made about a tenth of that, and I was left kind of scratching my head wondering, well, what did we do wrong? We followed a proven formula. What did we do wrong? And so I kind of went back to the drawing board, and I started thinking, well, what's a better way to sell something? And I was looking around at some of the other marketing experts in our industry. I was looking around at some of what my peers were doing in my Mixergy mastermind group. And I saw that, they were doing webinars, which also kind of reminded me when the company first started, we were seeing something like a 70 to 75% close rate from lead to someone becoming a client when we did in-person sales. And this made sense. I made a connection between the two. I thought, okay, well, webinars have a huge advantage because it's like selling in person. It's non-spammy because you're offering basically a free kind of educational class, and then at the end you have an kind of tag-along offer to it. And it's a many-to-one format, so it's like selling in person, but obviously in a broadcast format. So I went out and I put together some slides, and we got our first webinar going. And unfortunately, though, that didn't produce any results at all either. I was left scratching my head yet again. I said, well, what's the problem here? What's going on? Well, I was actually lucky because one of the webinar attendees for that first webinar, again, the webinar is called Fix Your Funnel, and as in fix your sales funnel. And one of the attendees called me up and said, hey, great presentation, really enjoyed it, but I don't want to buy your course. I'm sure it's great, but I would prefer to pay you guys to actually do the hard work for us. Do you guys actually do that? And I said, yeah, of course. We're your web marketing partner on demand. We specialize in implementing custom website sales funnels and email autoresponders and related services. So he said, well, great. And that eventually turned into a new client for us. So what that situation told me was follow the money, okay? People in our market want services. They don't just want info products, because there's plenty of info products already out there. And, some people were buying the info product itself, but I looked at the numbers and I said, well, it just makes more sense since our core business is in providing these services. For some reason, I had suspected that, it wasn't possible to sell a service through a webinar. Instead, I was kind of chasing that more fashionable or more popular idea, made popular by some of the internet marketing gurus out there, that you use webinars strictly to sell info products, but that's just not the case. And fast forward to today, we generated so far in 2015 about $15,000 as a direct result of hosting our own webinars. And we're seeing really great results in terms of lead generation from the webinars as well. So that phone call from that first webinar taught me, follow the money, follow the feedback that you're getting from people who are on your email list, who are engaging with you on the webinar, and continue to tweak and make the presentation better, right? So that was one step in the right direction, obviously. And that leads into the second lesson, which is that people want services, not just products, as I mentioned. Because ultimately, you can chase this idea, a lot of internet marketing gurus and entrepreneurs even look down on services businesses as, that's not sexy, that's not scalable. But the truth is, what's sexy? I think that a profitable growing business is sexy. And, we've been doing better and better as a result of that, So the key takeaway is to view webinars as a vehicle for selling anything, not just info products. The third lesson I learned was to focus on your call to action. So as we develop this webinar to focus on being a vehicle for offering our services rather than this info product, I began thinking about, well, how can we effectively engage with people so that it would lead potentially to a new client relationship for us. And what we did was we decided that we would widen the funnel as much as possible. We offered a free 15-minute consultation with me to any webinar attendees who were on and watched the webinar. And the result is that every time that we put on a webinar now, we're getting qualified client inquiries. And even though it's a free offer, and obviously that appeals to people who want help understanding how the teachings of the webinar maybe in some custom way apply to their business, it also applies to businesses who have the budgets that we're looking to work with. So it's really win-win for everyone. But the key thing is how do you optimize around presenting an effective call to action? Well, I did a few things that have progressively made the conversion rate better. For example, I mentioned that it's a free offer, so that widens the funnel right off the bat. But we also started presenting social proof like testimonials alongside this offer. Furthermore, we showed webinar attendees exactly where they need to click and what they need to do next. I think I actually got this idea originally from some other well-known webinar presenters. I think it was, might have been John Lee Dumas. So thanks for that, John. Lesson number 4, webinars make great lead magnets. So in terms of actually building your email list, which with what I would call our passive leads, people who might be good referral sources for you, people maybe who are do-it-yourself types, so obviously not so much our target market, but they could tell other people about our blog and about our business, which could lead to client relationships down the road. And then obviously, some of the leads who fit our target market criteria, those we can educate and follow up with over time, and eventually, potentially move them into client relationships and new projects for the company. So in total, though, we've actually generated almost 600 new email subscribers as a result of offering this webinar. We found an offer that really fit with our market, and you can see here on the graph how every day before we hosted the webinar, we saw a spike in email subscription rates. So that's clearly indicating that it's effective as far as being a lead magnet. So key takeaway, people are hungry for knowledge. So if you can teach them something they want to know, an email address is a small price to pay to get at that knowledge, especially when it's something substantial like an hour-long free online class. Lesson number 5, increase engagement by being natural and being real. So the advantage of a webinar is that you can get on camera personally and become, at least for the time that people are tuned into you, the face of your business. And that's useful because on the internet today, many people are cynical. A lot of websites are cookie cutter. People are using all these different landing page templates. And to some extent, yeah, those work, but are people really going to trust you from using the same templates and having kind of a faceless website, if you will, that has no pictures of any people or anything about the story of the company? And that's why in-person sales, although it's not scalable, has always been such an effective way to sell products or services, because you're face-to-face with someone. And that's what a webinar is really giving you. It's giving you face time with potential clients, right? And people in your target market. So be yourself is what I learned. Be natural. It took some practice to actually be natural in front of an audience. I'm still learning how to do it. I crack jokes in the beginning of the webinar. I'm sarcastic. I'm engaging with people. I'm asking questions. I'm answering questions. And what I've noticed is that the more time that I spend up front in that first 15 minutes leading up to the beginning of the presentation, I noticed that more people are signing into our chat widget, the more people are, giving a shout out with their name and location, maybe saying a couple things about their business, what they're looking to learn. So the key takeaway here is that webinars are an opportunity to be yourself and present yourself as not just a business, but as a person and the face of your business. Lesson number 6, practice, 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 then practice some more. So this one is pretty self-explanatory, but I can tell you that compared to the first webinar that we put on, compared to the most recent one that I hosted yesterday, it's really night and day. I feel personally more confident. I feel like I'm a better public speaker. Like just the words I'm using are, it's easier for people to even digest the information the way that I'm talking about it and presenting it as we go through the presentation. So key takeaway here is perfection through practice. And to review, follow the money. People want services, not just products. Don't assume that they just want info products if you're hosting a webinar. Focus on how you present your call to action. Webinars build your email list. Be human, don't hide behind your computer. Practice makes perfect, especially when it comes to a webinar presentation. So if you guys are interested in actually attending our next webinar, which is coming up in a little less than 2 weeks, you can click on the Fix Your Funnel webinar link here inside the yellow box towards the bottom of this article. And I look forward to seeing you on there. If you have any questions, do ask them in the comments. I actually have a question for you guys. So maybe you've attended webinars in the past. What was one thing that you noticed the presenter did particularly well? It can be something that engaged you or made you want what they were offering. So leave a comment below, and I'll see you soon. Take care.